A new world formed while I was away, chasing dreams that seemed to always slip through my hands. No matter where I run, the chase always leads me here, lost in an orange dream, cold against the wet sand. I awake again, but this time to a whole new world. I notice the setting sun and the gentle rain falling against my skin. It's time for us to find that perfect spot to build. And I know that it won't be easy, but when has rest ever been easy? So I cross the land in search of the perfect place to build my home. I searched in the snow and found nothing. I wandered through the desert, but no luck. I was beginning to give up on this server, but then I checked in with my community to see what they thought, and so based on that vote, I moved in that direction. Most people built at the peak and very little at the bottom. This was my first time seeing the canyon, and what a beautiful sight it was. I took a moment to take in the view, and then I began to explore the terrain, weighing my options, deciding where I'd build my base. If you're new to the channel, I encourage you to subscribe because I post chill content like this every week. Thanks. I started off by doing some farming for some wood and stone. There was a small wooden rated base at the floor of the canyon, and I considered taking it out completely, but I figured if I built near it, eventually it would decay away. And with that, I started building. I was planning to turn this room into a bunker, so I didn't lay down a TC quite yet. But then I had a change of heart. I had a plan for the final base, and the TC didn't belong here. But I decided to restructure the plan with the idea of changing the layout later on. With my area now ready for my TC, I collected a little more wood and as it was getting dark, I laid down the final piece of my starter base. Now this wipe was a long journey, and I needed to get things going, so I crafted a pickaxe, and I headed in the direction of harbor. Every solo has to start somewhere. Sometimes, when you find an area in Rust that's relatively quiet, you forget that people around you exist. And so while I was peacefully farming, this happened. Eventually, they took off in a different direction. So I decided to take the loot that I collected and head over to the supermarket to recycle. The sooner I got a tier 1 down, the better. I was already at a disadvantage this wipe, because I was coming into this a few weeks in. Most of the players on the server already had BPs, and me, I was grinding scrap for that first BP. And in the middle of all that, this happened. I went ahead and switched the direction of my door. That way, if it was open, I could close it from inside one of my other rooms. I hadn't seen so much rain in Rust in a long time. The skies were pouring, and it didn't seem like it was gonna let up anytime soon, and so I watched the sun rise from beyond the edge of the canyon. Such a stunning sight. Rust never fails to amaze me with its beauty. We recently hit 6,000 subscribers on the channel, and I just want to take a moment to thank you all for that, because without you, this wouldn't be possible. As the storm continued to rage, I continued to grind for scrap. And just before I headed home, I decided to venture out a little deeper into harbor. And this decision changed my entire life. I wasn't really expecting anything good up here. But then, I found this. I needed to get this home so that I could keep it safe until I was ready to research it. And so, I rushed home. I laid down a campfire to dry me off from the rain just before I headed out again to explore some of the newer monuments. New or old, Rat Town, here I come. I decided to make my way to the lighthouse to recycle what I had collected from Rat Town. I felt relatively safe doing this. The rain seemed to have my back, making it harder to see my enemies, but also making me harder to see. Sometimes your peace is interrupted and you're left to think quickly on your feet. So I decided to stop right here and drop off some of my valuable loot, but not make it too suspicious by dropping everything of value. And if I was lucky, I could come back and find it all here. It looks like he didn't find this. A small victory for a solo. With the hatchet finally researched, I was able to get some serious wood, at least enough to get me to the next stage of the wipe. The farming never stops, especially as a solo. You have to do everything yourself. So any opportunity I had, I'd grab a pickaxe and collect as many nodes as I could. I needed more furnaces, and I was running low on low grade, so I took some of my crude oil and I headed over to the refinery at Harbor. Danger seemed to be waiting every time I took a moment to catch my breath, so I decided it was time to expand. And in the middle of expanding, I remembered a poll regarding building skins, and you guys put Brutalist at the top, so I took a second to do a little shopping. Initially, I was skeptical of the skin, but it quickly grew on me. And this is why farming trees in rust sucks. So, for the time being, I grabbed a bow instead. In order to get my loot room to the point that I want it to be at, I would need to empty out the area, so I moved all my loot into these temporary boxes. I laid down the ramps, and then moved everything back. A much needed process that, in the long run, would make my life easier. I knew this particular wall would be difficult to reach later, so I went ahead and upgraded it to sheet metal.
You're good, man. No worries. What do you expect me to do?
Because I want to recycle. I'm recycling my road stuff.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right, go ahead, man. Go ahead. You're good.
I'm literally naked.
Here, take this.
Thank you. Huh?
There you go. This.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yep. GG's, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sometimes, the innocence of younger players reminds you that it's okay to be kind in a mostly toxic game. I genuinely hope that this player is able to grow and enjoy his time as a solo, because we all deserve that. As a new day arrived, I had plans of growing much faster, so I geared up for a risky trip underground. This was by far my favorite way of collecting loot and scrap quickly, and I was hoping it would pay off again. I had no idea what was in store for me down there, but I would never know if I didn't try. Somehow, I had made it. I took in a deep breath of the icy cold air, and finding myself here at Outpost felt like I had traveled such far distances. with all my newly researched BPs, I decided it was time to head back home. But along the way, hunger struck, so I had to stop at an earlier location, make my way up, grab a little bit to eat, and then make a run for it on foot, above ground. Another stormy day, a reflection of a rusty world. Eventually, I made it home. I dropped off my loot, and I prepared for the next chapter. The storm wasn't letting up. It had been raining for a long time. While roaming for loot, I decided to head home and hunker down for the night in hopes that in the morning the rain would stop. And in the distance, it looked like others were trying to get home too. Since I had a little bit of time to kill, I decided to organize my loot. The next day, the sun was shining, and I had a plan. I was going to collect as much stone as I could, as close as I could to Outpost, trade that in for wood, and then make a risky run. I've done this many times before. It's not a guarantee, but when it does work, it's totally worth it. In order to maximize this run, I decided to spawn again and continue farming, keeping the first load safe at Outpost. And then I made the dreadful run. one thing I don't like to do in Rust is farm trees, and now I don't have to for a while. I was ready to build my suicide bunker because I was unsure of what was to come. But in order to do that, I needed to tear down my TC. That way, I could place it in the bunker. So I needed some fire arrows. Instead of researching down to it, I decided to try to find some. While my neighbors were distracted, I began to honeycomb the base, and also at the second floor. This was my first time trying out the wallpapers, and I have to say, I'm a huge fan. I love how the darkness of this wallpaper accents the brutalist walls. It creates a beautiful contrast, which I quickly grew to love. before sealing off my bunker, I wanted to make sure that a light was set up inside, because once it's sealed, I won't be able to do that later. After upgrading the rest of my core into sheet metal, I moved over some valuable loot into the bunker, and then I sealed it off. I was ready to do sewer branch, so I geared up and I headed in that direction. But on my way out, the wolves seemed to be guarding the exit, and they weren't backing off. Eventually, they left, and I made a run for it. Now that I had a blue card, I was ready to do airfield. It was a bit of a hike, but as the sun was rising, I felt the energy. It was time for a bit of improv building on my second floor. I didn't know exactly how I wanted the layout to be, but to me, that's the fun of building. As the sun was setting, I headed over to Harbor to recycle some items I had, in hopes of researching a few more vital things. The moon tonight was stunning. Its reflection against the water left me in awe. I may have been a little distracted from my loot, but that's okay, because moments like this are what keep me coming back to Rust over and over again. After setting up these red industrial lights, I have to say, I didn't like how dark everything was. In this particular base, it left me wanting more, so I made sure I would take care of that soon. This was much, much better. Outnumbered on a server like this, the odds of a solo surviving are low. But somehow, we're still here. It was a strange feeling, being cradled between two mountains, sitting at the base of a canyon. I was feeling safe, and things were progressing well, but there was still more I needed to do. Much, much more. It was time to do the Arctic research base. While doing a run underground, I couldn't believe what I found. I have to say, in all my years of playing Rust, this has happened only a few times. To me, this was a game changer, so I decided to just head back home instead of risking it. At this point in the wipe, I was ready to expand. I was ready to build out a place for my oil refinery and my large furnace. It would take a bit of design work and patience, and I was ready to get it done. And while I was looking over my work and brainstorming, this happened. I had enough HQM to go armor, so I went ahead and passed over some into my bunker, and then I upgraded.
Stolen all.
Because of all that chaos, I had completely forgotten about the loot that I dropped near the recycler, so I headed back to get it.
I can bait if you want, if you pick me up. Yeah, you're an idiot, you dickhead. Guys.
No matter how peaceful things may seem, enemies are always watching. My base felt complete, and if I were any other solo, I would stop here in order to minimize my upkeep. But me, I don't care about the upkeep. I care about making the base as cozy as possible. So in the dead of the night, I planned out what I would do at sunrise. Now this was more like it. This felt more like the Orange Stream way. The rain truly never let up, so I used that cover to hopefully find some water that I could use to fill my pool. And in the process, I found this guy, completely unaware of what was going on around him. And as I was watching him, I suddenly realized I was doing the same thing. Eventually, I found this water catcher. When the rain stopped, I grabbed my water and I filled the pool. It seemed like every fight I encountered, there was always one more. When I realized he was just getting started, I let him come back and get his loot.
Right here, I'm right here. Alright, I don't have anything on me. Right here, look, chill. I'm not gonna hurt you. Friendly, okay.
But in the distance, others were approaching, so I helped him out. It was time for me to step back a little and go for a swim. It's always important to treat yourself, to relax, to not take things so seriously. If you're not enjoying rust, there's probably something you can change, especially if you're a solo. And on days when I called it and headed to bed, I moved over my valuable loot into my bunker. That way, I could sleep safe and sound. And on other days, I just needed a boost, so I took a sip of tea and farmed until my heart was content. I did everything in my power to make sure that my large furnace was burning as often as it could. I hadn't spent much time in the desert yet, so I decided to go do the abandoned military base, one of my favorite monuments, for some quick loot. I loved the glow that the base had from the distance. Such a warm feeling to come home to. I was ready to go down to underwater labs and test my luck there, and I was planning to use this brand new tool to take me down. And just like that, I was back on the surface, and no one will ever know I was ever down there. At last, my base was complete. Later that day, I went out roaming, and the oddest thing happened during this fight. He simply got on a train and left. After that encounter, I decided it was time to settle down and unwind for the wipe. Things had gone so well this time around. I was able to accomplish everything that I set out to, and now I had BPs for the next wipe. And as the moon and the stars hang high in the sky, I decided to dip my toes in the water and float around for a bit. I truly hope that other solos out there can experience this side of Rust just like I have in this video. I promise you, it's possible. And I just want to thank you for always supporting and always encouraging me to keep going. Thank you for being kind, and thank you for being a true dreamer. And a special thanks to my YouTube members. It may be the end of this wipe, but when a single wipe ends, a new one begins. If you got this far in the video, comment the phrase Canyon Life down below. Until next time, stay chill, dreamers. You've been watching an Orange Dream production.